This morning, with about 1 week to go before Congress gets back to work, we look ahead to politics in 2012 and ask a couple big questions here. Will the next president be able to break the logjam in Congress? And will the Supreme Court's upcoming ruling on the Obama health care law affect the race for the White House? It seems certain to. Joining us to talk about all this is National Journal correspondent Major Garrett. Major, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Congressional proceedings were tortured at best, one might say, in 2011. Are you optimistic for 2012?
Well, look, if you were to predict future behavior in 2012, you'd look back on 2011 and say, yes, we're going to be in for another full year of gridlock. Election years tend to impose that anyway. But I would offer this cautionary observation. I look back in 1995 and 1996. That was the first time we had a Republican Congress going up against a Democratic president in a good long while. In that first year, Bill Clinton's success rate with the Republican House was 23%, among the lowest rates ever in American history. The next year, an election year, 1996, it was 56%. Why? Because Republicans in Congress changed their behavior. They knew if they didn't work out deals with that Democratic president, they might lose their job. Politicians are structural opportunists, so I would say there's a possibility, when you look at the very low ratings for this Congress, a very high sense the American public has, that even their own member of Congress should be thrown out of office. Behavior might change in 2012. We might see a breaking of some of the gridlock.
Major, the president, as you know, has some tools to force things through if he wanted to in 2012. Good idea or bad idea?
Well, look, executive power is always a temptation, and the executive order is always a temptation for the president. But remember, executive orders only change policy within the executive branch. They can't affect American behavior in a large, consequential, or long-lasting way. American presidents know that, but they can use executive orders to nudge Congress in certain directions. If there is a return of that sort of sense of permanent gridlock, executive orders will remain a temptation and at the margins change behavior and policy.
Major, let's talk about the Supreme Court. One thing that a lot of people are going to be focusing on, obviously, in 2012, as we mentioned, is the Supreme Court's ruling or discussions about the health care law. What kind of timetable are we looking at here?
Well, we're looking at sometime in the summer, right before the two-party conventions. The Supreme Court will say one of two things. Either the individual mandate is an overreach, it is not constitutional, it imposes on individual Americans a requirement to purchase a product that the Commerce Clause simply does not allow for, and therefore that part of the law must be stricken. Well, as a practical matter, much of the other law would fall apart because the individual mandate creates the pool of potential insured Americans that provide the financing for all the other things the health care law tries to provide. So if that ends, the law itself probably collapses. If it's upheld, the president will say, I knew it was constitutional, the court has backed me up. Now we can have a political fight about this, but we can't have a legal one anymore.
And then, Major, quickly, the court is also going to hear a challenge to the Arizona immigration law.
Exactly. And what this is about is, can states say, look, you have a federal law and we're trying to enforce it in our way? Can the federal government say, don't enforce federal law the way you want to, enforce it the way we want to? That's a legal term called preemption. That's going to be at the heart of this, but the politics around it will remain very volatile.
Major Garrett, always a pleasure to see you, sir. Thank you for your time, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thanks so much.